Hey, mathematicians, Mrs. Hall here. Welcome back to Number Corner. Can't wait. Today, you just need a math journal and your pencil. We're actually going to take a closer look at 4 calendar markers. So why don't you get your supplies ready and we will get started. The first marker we're going to take a closer look at is calendar marker number 8. Peekaboo. You'll notice that no side has a label. It just simply says area 9 square centimeters. So you might be wondering at this point, well, how do I find the perimeter if there's no numbers attached to the sides? But actually, knowing the properties of the square and knowing the area is all the clues that you need. If I want to solve this problem, I just need to think about what I know about squares. Well, squares have 4 equal sides. If I know that the total area of the square is 9, that means that 2 sides, when multiplied together, equal 9. So my first way to solve this problem would be to say, what times what equals 9? And because it's a square, I know that it has to be the same number. Well, I know that 3 times 3 equals 9, which means that one length of the square, one side needs to be 3, which means that all of the sides need to have a length of 3. So when I solve for the perimeter, I can simply say 3 times 4 sides is 12 centimeters. All right, that's reviewing square 8. Now let's take a look at the next marker. The next calendar marker we're going to take a closer look at is marker number 11. You might have noticed that both sides are labeled on the rectangle and we need to solve for the perimeter. Well, there's a bunch of ways that we can solve for the perimeter. There's a few different ways we can solve for a perimeter with this rectangle, but if you're a visual person like me, sometimes it's helpful to draw a model of it. In this case, I know that I want to add up the sides, right? So I know that two opposite sides have a measurement of 1.5 or 1 5/10, and the opposite sides are the same. So to solve and find the perimeter, I can do a bunch of different things. I could add up all my sides, right? I get 10, and 1.5 and 1.5 are 3. 3 plus 10 equals 13. I could also have made a multiplication equation, right? I could also say, well, 2 sides are 1 5/10 plus the 2 sides that are 5. Okay, and then I could say 2 times 1 5/10 is 3, plus 2 times 5 is 10, equals 13. Okay, so those are 2 different ways I could have solved for a perimeter. Now, if I wanted to challenge myself and solve for the area of this rectangle, I know to find the area, I have to multiply the length times the width to get the total area. Well, how could I do that? Because I'm multiplying with a decimal. Well, if I'm a visual person, I could actually draw out a model. I know that this is 5 groups of 1.5. So I could draw it out like this. And then add it simply together. I could say 3, 3, and then 1.5. My area getting me to 7.5. I could also have used a number line to find the area and done 5 jumps of 1.5. So here's my number line. I could have said 1.5, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Okay, and that would get me to 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6, and then 7.5. Another way, and if I felt more comfortable with multiplying by decimals, I could say 5 times the wholes gets me 5 wholes. And then I could say 5 times a half gets me 5 halves, which when I change it into a mixed number is 2.5. And this also gets me to an area of 7.5. So those are just 3 different ways that you could have solved for the area of this rectangle. The next card we're going to take a closer look at is marker number 12, which has something unusual in it. Do you know what it is? Aha! It's the line of symmetry. And remember, a line of symmetry is an imaginary line that bisects the shape so that it passes through in the perfect middle so that each side is identical. How could the line of symmetry help us figure out the perimeter? Well, it's simple. If I know that there's a line of symmetry, then I know that both sides are equal, which will allow me to label the unknown sides of this pentagon. So here we go. If I know that this side here is 3, well, the line of symmetry tells me that this side is also 3. And I know if this side is 4 centimeters, and the line of symmetry gives me a clue that this side is also 4 centimeters. And now we can add up our perimeter. 3 and 3 is 6, plus 4 is 10, plus 2 is 12, plus 4 is 16. Our final marker that I want to pay a little bit more attention to is marker number 14. The reason why is because we need to find the perimeter, but we only have one side labeled at 7 centimeters. It also tells us the area is a total of 14 square centimeters. How can we figure this out? Okay, well, let's break this down. The area is actually going to help us figure out the missing dimensions. Because we know to find the area of a rectangle, we're going to multiply the length times the width. The length of this rectangle is 7. So we need to think in our mind 7 times what number equals 14? Well, knowing that you're such strong mathematicians, you probably figured out this is a 2. And so that is the width of our rectangle. Now we can solve for the perimeter. 2 plus 7 is 9, plus 2 is 11, plus 7 is 18. Okay, so we just took a closer look at 4 of the calendar markers. And your assignment now is to write 3 things that you thought were interesting or that you learned, or 3 questions, any 3 things, and post it on the Padlet. Can't wait to see what you share. Bye.